Over there. Hello, Dave. Santiago
Hey,
here. How you doing?
doing well. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Okay. I'm from
Excellent.
Argentina. I don't know if you're aware, but
Yes,
I'm
sir.
from a race.
Argentina. Buenos
Yes.
días.
Buenos días. Do you speak Spanish?
Un poco.
Un
Un
poco.
poco, sí.
Okay.
Solamente un
Okay.
poco.
Okay.
Y and my Spanish is very Southern California, Mexico
Okay.
influenced. Uh,
It got the Mexican flavor.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start about talking about the new tour with Emily as a new singer. What did you expect to happen before the tour started and actually when the tour took off? How do you feel being touring again?
Yeah, I think expectations wise before the tour got going, I didn't know what to expect. Like we'd spent a lot of time all together, you know, writing together, rehearsing together, eating meals together, hanging out, having fun, that whole bit, but hadn't spent any time obviously on tour. And tour is its own different animal. Um, so I didn't know what to expect. And then additionally, also, not only with Emily and with Colin being kind of new faces into that space, but also, me, Mike, and Joe just being a bit older. We hadn't toured for a while ourselves. So there's all those questions of like the wear and tear that the travel and everything is going to take on your body and for the vocalists on vocals and everything like that. So there's always a ton of question marks. Thankfully at this point, a year plus into it, it's gone very well. Everyone has stayed relatively healthy as you could ever ask for or hope for. And the shows have been great. And I think like the opportunity now to get down to South America for a second time on the cycle is huge for us. It's always been a favorite place for us to visit, but also one that we haven't been able to get down to as much as we'd like.
Mm.
And so this tour, being able to get down uh, again, and also like obviously to visit a lot of places that we didn't get down to last year, is meaningful.
Okay. And did you feel maybe there was some risk in restarting the band again after what happened with Chester and you were some years off the tours and making records?
Yeah, I think there's always risk in some regard, for what we do and what we're doing. I guess the risk, if you zoom out and look at it, is just feeling embarrassed or putting something out that nobody likes or doing something that everybody hates. But from my standpoint on that, kind of, going back 2 or 3 years ago when we were talking about or even beginning to get together again, this being me, Mike, and Joe, we didn't know if we were going to be doing Linkin Park at all. We had had a couple stops and starts after Chester passed away of writing music and just not it from my vantage point, it was just too hard. It felt emotionally challenging. Like I liked some of the stuff we were writing and I loved spending time with those guys, but just starting to touch upon things that still felt painful and so sensitive, it was too much. So we'd spend a week or two kind of getting together and writing, and then we wouldn't see each other for like 6 months. And it was a lot of stop starts. Um, at a certain stage, I think we kind of just said, this being 2 or 3 years ago, kind of just said, let's throw all that out the window. Let's just make stuff and let's see if we even like it. Let's not make it under the headline of this is new Linkin Park music. Let's not do any of that. Let's just test if we can still be creative together and like what we do. And let's not put any burden of figuring out what it is or what to do with it onto it. And for me, it was so liberating because I had spent, wakeless or sleepless nights trying to figure out all the answers to all the questions of what it would mean or look like to do Linkin Park again. Like all of those fears, um, they would just get me so anxious and keep me up at night trying to answer the 10,000 different questions that needed answers for that to go forward. And one of the big ones was, like, to your point, how would it be received? What would I think about it?
Yeah.
What would other people think about it? But at a certain point for me, like, I think everybody deals with grief differently, and everybody has a right to do it their own way. I think our fans were dealing with grief the same ways kind of that we were, and in a million different ways.
Yeah.
Um, and at the end of it, for me, I just kind of felt like, with the band, I need to see what it could be, or what another chapter might be or look like. And if it doesn't work, and if at that point I don't like it, or if nobody likes it or whatever, then at least I will know what that is or what that was. Um, but I did not feel comfortable kind of leaving it where it was. That didn't feel right to me. That didn't feel
Mhm.
like moving forward to me. Um, and I felt like it was really important for me personally to just keep living, you know?
Okay. I guess one of those questions you were talking about is because we are in a different world right now. Social media, haters, online haters. It's like everywhere. Uh, One of those questions was about what everyone's going to think about this restart of the band, or you don't care about what they say.
No, I mean, it's probably both. I mean, everybody, when it comes to the internet, and it's across all different places and whatever, there's always going to be difficult things and hard things that are said that you don't want to hear or see, or that you disagree with, or whatever. Um, but for me, that's not a reason to do something or to not do something. That 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 type of internet feedback. Um, but also for me, I just felt like you're going to have differences of opinions.
Hmm.
That's normal. That's natural. It would be super. How weird of a, in thinking, I was like, how weird of a world would it be if you did something and online everybody agreed with it or loved it? Like, has that ever happened ever? Like, probably not. And so you do have to have a little bit of that. And this isn't even for us, right? Like, we went through a crazy thing with Chester's passing that's, tragic and highly emotional and charged. But even if you take that out of the picture, if there's a band that's just releasing a second album, so take away everything in a, emotionally charged, a band is releasing a second album, you're always gonna get the feedback on that is all over the place. And so if you were able to, or if you were to just let that paralyze you, I feel like it would be such a, I don't know, it'd just be a difficult spot to be, to say, let's not release the second album because 5, 10, 20, 50%, whatever, are going to dislike it or critique it or be upset by it or whatever, right? Um, at the end of that process for us, a lot of the feedback I kind of understand, and I'm okay with different people having their own ideas or opinions. Um, but hopefully, if I'm being myself, and if I'm being, you know, courageous is not the right word, but if I'm being myself and I'm being kind of forthright as a musician or as an artist, the notion that somebody might not like it should never be a reason to not release something or do something new moving forward.
Okay. Talking about the new album, when I first listened to it, I heard that it was like back to the signature sound of Linkin Park, of the early era of Linkin Park. That was intended, or that was happened in the studio when you guys started to write songs?
Our process generally, and it was no different with this. Like, when we're writing, we're just trying to look for stuff that makes us excited, and makes the hairs in your arm kind of stand up, or gives you that feeling of like, Yes, like that
Yeah.
is a thing. You can just hear something and get like brought into it. And we're searching for that. You're throwing out a fishing line and hoping something bites. Like we're not ever kind of aiming at a one specific sound or genre or thing. It's just we're exploring and seeing what we're gravitating towards. And with this record, in some ways, things that touched upon the older Linkin Park catalog or things that we had done in the past, it felt like we were touching on things that were familiar, but there's also enough new to them that they felt exciting again and interesting and like a different point of view on some of the things we'd maybe already experimented with or heard before out of us. And so that stuff was like fun and refreshing. Um, Energy of it felt great. And so I think we just started chasing down those kind of moments.
Okay. So is it different to write for a female singer? Do you have any different flavor, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, if there's the technical side of that where it's like her register is higher a little bit. So if, you might be writing in some different keys than what you're used to as far as the sweet spot of her voice. Um, but the other side of that too, whether it was female or male or just a new person when you're working with and writing with, there's a learning curve to figuring out how that creative exchange works and what new spices do they add or bring or what are your new colors that you have now to paint with. And this was no different. Emily's a seasoned pro at what she does and an extremely talented vocalist, and we had to learn in so many ways from both sides what are our best practices of like writing together, being creative together. And that evolves and takes some time. And I think that's like one thing for me that I'm most excited about moving forward now is we figured out so many things on From Zero as a record that we can build upon moving forward and new avenues and twists to dig into even more. Um, and that feels exciting.
Okay. I guess I have one more question. So let's talk about for a moment about hybrid theory. When the album was finished, did you sense something big was coming? And how did the album change your life?
With hybrid theory, it's funny because we were young. We had never really had any. We hadn't had any failure or success in it. The only thing we had was we had played showcase after showcase after showcase and been passed upon by every label in the town multiple times. But we still felt like we loved what we were doing. We still felt like it was exciting for us, and so we still believed in our music. And then getting a chance to record it for Hybrid Theory, that was like the win for the band. Like we'd already achieved it, whatever it is. It was just like we got to record a record. That's awesome. And then when it's releasing for that first time, there's an excitement, there's a stress, anxiety, all the different things about what it might do. Uh, but we never had any hopes or dreams of it doing what it did as quickly as it did coming out. I mean, that was wild. Like Hybrid Theory released, and it just caught fire in a way that nobody was expecting, least of all us. And I can't remember exactly what your question was, but
How did the album change
there's
your life?
well, I was going to say there was a feeling of that also with From Zero. There's a revisitation for me of that feeling of this is brand new again in some different way. I don't know how it's going to be received. Like this feels all of those same feelings that it did back in the day. Um, One of the big differences is hybrid theory did change our lives. It changed them from the viewpoint of like what are we going to do for careers and jobs to kind of like, oh, at least for a little while, we can do this. We can play music
Yeah.
and this is going to be, that was an incredible feeling. I had started classically training on violin when I was maybe 5 or 6 years old and never dreamed big enough to think that I could do music as a career. It was always just a passion. So at that point, for the first time, it was kind of like, hmm, maybe this could be like a career instead of just like a fun project that I do with friends. And then similarly with From Zero, it was like we were at the space where we were thinking maybe we don't do music ever again. Like maybe we don't perform ever again. Maybe we're just done. But now it feels like, oh, maybe we have that opportunity to do something, that we love for maybe as long as we want to do it, which is a very cool, special feeling.
Okay. Dave, thank you very much for your time and hope to see you here in Buenos Aires.
Excited to go down there again. And yes, it would be great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.